6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Danishka Medawala and read by J. Yogaraj. First the headlines. The 5,000 rupees allowance for the people affected by the COVID-19 restrictions will be paid from today. 30 billion rupees have been allocated for this purpose. The central bank has requested licensed commercial banks to provide concessions to affected borrowers. Sri Lanka surpasses 1,500 COVID deaths. The President has issued directives to tow the fire-stricken merchant vessel Express Pearl ship out to deep seas. Health authorities request the people to clean their surroundings due to possible rise of dengue fever. News overseas, US President commemorates 100-year anniversary of Tulsa Race massacre. And those are the headlines. The 5,000 rupees allowance for the people who are affected by the COVID-19 restrictions will be paid from today. It will be paid under the approval of the relevant district secretaries. State Minister Shahan Singh says that 30 billion rupees have been set aside for this purpose. The allowance will be paid for the families listed to receive Samruddhi benefits. The families who lost their income due to the impact of the COVID-19 will also be eligible to receive these allowances. The government has paid the allowance for 5 million families during the first wave. 25 billion rupees were paid during the first wave. More than 25 billion rupees were paid during the second wave as well. Considering the difficulties faced by the borrowers of the licensed banks due to the third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has requested licensed commercial banks and licensed specialized banks to provide concessions to affected borrowers. With respect to credit facilities that are in the performing category, as at 15th May 2021, to defer recovery of capital, interest or both on case-by-case basis during the period up to 31st August 2021, considering the financial difficulties of the eligible borrowers. Alternatively, licensed banks may restructure the existing credit facilities over a long period, considering the repayment capacity of the borrower and an acceptable revival plan submitted by such borrowers. This news comes to you from Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Receive early cash advances and an unmatchable bonus at maturity from Sri Lanka Insurance Early Cash.
Sri Lanka surpasses 1,500 COVID deaths at 43 deaths due to COVID-19 reported yesterday. The Director General of Health Services confirmed 43 deaths that included one death that occurred yesterday and 42 deaths occurred from 20th May to 31st May due to COVID-19 virus infection. The total number of deaths due to COVID-19 infection in Sri Lanka is 1,527 by now. According to Epidemiology Unit of the Health Ministry, 2,877 new COVID-19 cases were reported yesterday. Among the positive cases identified are 2,845 persons from the New Year COVID-19 cluster and 32 foreign arrivals currently in quarantine. According to the Epidemiology Unit report, at 11 p.m. last night, a total of 189,241 COVID-19 cases have been reported and 34,386 infected patients are being treated at hospitals, while 153,371 patients have fully recovered and been discharged from hospitals. Sri Lanka confirmed 43 deaths Tuesday, raising the total to 1,527 since the pandemic began in March 2020. According to the Epidemiology Unit report, so far, 1.6 million people have received the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine and 349,745 have received the second dose of vaccine. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has issued directives to tow the fire-stricken merchant vessel Express Pearl ship out to deep seas. The decision was taken at a special meeting chaired by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa yesterday to discuss steps need to be taken regarding the Singapore-registered container ship destroyed by the fire. Minister of Ports and Shipping Rohita Abe-Gunawardena presented all the details on the ship's journey from the United Arab Emirates on 9th of May to the arrival of the ship near the port of Colombo on the 19th. Representatives from a number of sectors, including the Navy, shipping and environment, pointed out at the meeting that the ship is at risk of sinking. In that case, they suggested the best course of action would be to take the ship to the deep sea to minimize possible damage to the marine environment. Accordingly, on the instructions of the Attorney General, the President instructed the Chairman of the Marine Environment Protection Authority to issue an immediate order to take the ship into the deep sea on the basis of technical issues. The President stated that the decision taken should be based on technical issues only and not on political issues. The fire aboard the MV Express Pearl was finally extinguished yesterday after 13-day international operation, the Navy said. Dr. Aruna Jayasekara, Director of the National Dengue Control Unit of the Ministry of Health, says the people should take action to keep their surroundings clean as the risk of dengue is increasing during the months of June and July. Dengue fever is on the rise from May to July due to the rainy weather. Since dengue is also spreading in the midst of the coronavirus epidemic and show common symptoms, people are advised to consult a doctor to diagnose the disease if symptoms occur. According to the Epidemiology Unit of the Health Ministry, 7,674 suspected dengue cases have been reported so far this year from all over the island. And that's local news.
Finished? You have one more hour to write the exam.
Yes, sir. Always early.
Receive early cash advances and an unmatchable bonus at maturity from Sri Lanka Insurance Early Cash.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Health officials have requested the public to seek urgent medical attention if they exhibit symptoms of dengue fever and other illness owing to their prevalence in society at present amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Deputy Director General of the Health Services, Dr. Hemant Herath, speaking at a media briefing yesterday, said it is important to remain vigilant of symptoms irrespective of age limits. Dr. Herath said dengue fever is on the rise, adding various other viral flus are also increasing with the monsoon season, especially among children. He urged the public to refrain from self-diagnosing oneself and to seek medical assistance promptly in the event of fever or breathing difficulties. And that came to you in top news.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And in Moshlight, 100 cities will be developed at a cost of 20 billion rupees. Second and third tier will be developed under the project. Illegal constructions will be removed, payments and drainage systems will be repaired. And the development project includes building vehicle parks, tree planting and garbage collection. And that's Watchlight. And moving on to world news. Headlines: President Biden commemorates 100-year anniversary of a Tulsa race massacre. Tokyo and Osaka extend state of emergency. Biden to suspend Trump Arctic drilling leases. And those are the headlines. Joe Biden has become the first sitting president to commemorate the 1921 Tulsa massacre, one of the worst incidents of racial violence in U.S. history. Mr. Biden flew to Tulsa, Oklahoma yesterday to mark the 100th anniversary of the attack, which claimed some 300 African-American lives. The 2 days of violence sparked by a white mob were largely erased from history for decades. It re-entered the national discourse amid racial justice protests last year. On 31st May 1921, a group of white Americans razed the affluent and predominantly black neighborhood of Greenwood in Tulsa. Japan's government has extended a coronavirus state of emergency for Tokyo, Osaka, and 7 other prefectures. It was set to be lifted this week, but will instead remain in place until June 20th. Declining infection figures suggest the declaration is having an effect in the 2 population centers. The Tokyo Metropolitan Government reported 260 new cases on Monday, marking the 18th straight day of week-on-week declines. U.S. President Joe Biden's administration will suspend oil and gas lease in Alaska's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge pending on environmental review. The move reverses former President Donald Trump's decision to sell oil leases in the refuge to expand fossil fuel and mineral development. The giant Alaskan wilderness is home to many important species, including polar bears, caribou, and wolves. Arctic tribal leaders have welcomed the move. And that's world news. And in development news, urban estate and rural housing projects are now being implemented. Taking part in a press briefing yesterday at the Government Information Department, Additional Secretary to the Ministry of Urban Development said that more than 30,000 houses are being built. He said that development of Muthura Javela Reserve, preparing urban wetlands, and Colombo Port City Development Project are also underway. A new program has been launched to restructure state enterprises, he added. And that's development news.
Sports news is brought to you by...
When Aya bought a motorbike, he bought 2 helmets. So sweet of him. I'm sure the other one is for me.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others. When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves. Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikan neveyi.
Tennis, third seed Rafael Nadal began his bid for the 21st Grand Slam men's singles title with a straight set win against Australia's Alexei Popyrin. The 34-year-old Spaniard going for the second extending 14 trump at Roland Garros won 6-3, 6-2, 7-6, and Serbian top seed Novak Djokovic also eased through to round 2, beating American tennis Sangren 6-2, 6-4, 6-2. And that's sports news.
My wife always sets a full lunch table, even if it's just the two of us. She always expects people to drop by, like maybe the army.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others. When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves. Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikan neveyi.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
The world's largest meat processing company has been targeted by a sophisticated cyber attack. Computer networks at JBS were hacked, causing some operations in Australia, Canada, and US to temporarily shut down, affecting thousands of workers. The company believes the ransomware attack originated from a criminal group likely based in Russia, the White House said. And that's business news.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news. Courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Chief Opposition Whip and Kandy District MP Lakshman Kiriyala yesterday said the government can claim damages from the company owned by former MP Daya Gamage for breach of contract in the construction of the Central Expressway. The losses incurred to the government as a result of a breach of contract by the company in question can be recovered from the company's assets or the funds in the bank accounts of the company owner. And that's economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
The Met Department says several spells of showers will occur in Western, Sabarakamu and Central Provinces and in Galle and Mathura districts. Showers or thundershowers may occur at a few places in Eastern and Uva provinces during the evening or night. Mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
Before we wind up these news broadcasts of Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, let's look at the main points once again. The 5,000 rupees allowance for the people who are affected by the COVID-19 restrictions will be paid from today. 30 billion rupees have been set aside for this purpose. The Central Bank has requested licensed commercial banks to provide concessions to affected borrowers. Sri Lanka surpasses 1,500 COVID deaths. The President has issued directives to tow the fire-stricken MV Express Pearl ship out to deep seas. Health authorities request the people to clean their surroundings due to possible rise of dengue fever. And that ends this news broadcast of Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.